The 2013 Denver Broncos were not just the greatest offense of all time, they rewrote the record book. This is the story of the greatest offense of all time. They had 606 points in just 16 games. Peyton had 5,477 passing yards, 55 touchdowns. All of those are records.
That's true.
The Broncos had 5 different receivers with 10 or more touchdowns. And here's the kicker. They did it all with a bare bones playbook. Usually we think of elite offenses having hundreds of plays, answers for every single defensive coverage, but with Peyton, he ran his own offense, just a few plays, no huddle up to the line, audibles everywhere, and the Broncos set records. This is one of the most unique offenses in NFL history, impossible to replicate.
And that's crazy. You gotta think about it like this too. Not only is he doing this in a pocket, basically not able to move, immobile, however you say it, because of his spinal surgery. He's also doing this. He's walking up to the formation and literally calling his own plays, doing his own checks. He's making everybody learn his offense. Like, he can work with the coordinator, but when you're on his team, you listen to me. If I say audible this, that, boop, doop, it's only like 2 quarterbacks, including Peyton Manning, that I've seen have the capability of doing that. And that's him and Tom Brady. I will honestly put Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers in that as well, but you know, it's really just a sheriff.
Before we dive deeper into all the intricacies of how it all worked, I want to thank this week's sponsor, my friends at SeatGeek. You know they're listed on the fail on Mike to get the app. The main thing you notice studying this offense is not just how often they use the same 5 plays repeatedly, but everything they do to get defenses into basic looks so they could shred them. When you think of Peyton, you don't think of speed. But to catch defenses off guard, the Broncos used no huddle most of the time to race to the line, then Peyton had called one of his 5 plays. He already knew they were getting zone coverage. You'd have to be crazy to try and match up Demaryius Thomas, Wes Welker, Eric Decker, and Julius Thomas one-on-one in man. So because they had this cast of characters in the receiver room, and because they sped to the line, they would get very basic zone coverages, and if they didn't get the pre-snap look they wanted, Peyton would always change the play anyway. He knew they'd get zone coverage because these receivers are too good to match up in man, and you're not getting disguises, you're not getting a lot of complex coverages because defenses have to go so fast to match you.
That's actually really a super smart scheme. This is why I like old school football more than new school football. I feel like a lot of new school football tries to put quarterbacks into their system. Like, I have this system, you're plug and play, this is what you do. That's why the 49ers never really worked. I feel like the 49ers didn't really excel in Garoppolo's talent. They more so plugged and played him into Shanahan's offense. You know, back in the day, they were programming around a quarterback, but I feel like there were more franchise guys back in the day as well, because Manning, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. Just name a few, you know, they're coming off the top of my head. These are franchise guys that you can build around. So I think that's the dilemma between back in the day and now. There's not too many franchise guys like the ones.
Interesting though is when you think Peyton, you think complex, cerebral, diverse offense. So you'd expect a lot of sophisticated motion, formations, but they get set in 2x2 formations. If Peyton liked his play against the defensive look pre-snap, they'd run it, or he'd use his crazy sign language, chicken wing, whatever, to get the offense into one of the 5 passing plays. They had dig and dag, then just a bunch of basic concepts like shallow cross, 4 verts and all curls, which are in the same bucket in my opinion, and they had Hank. Dig and dag are probably the most famous. Peyton's talked about them plenty on TV or wherever. Where dig is what most people will consider a levels concept, where the inside receiver is running a dig and the outside receiver is running a fin 5-yard in route. This ball is almost always going to the fin route. The inside route in this offense for most all of these concepts is very often there, more to clear out space. Peyton was so obsessed with timing, he'd hit his back foot, and this ball is coming out even if the zone defender was right by his receiver. When he felt like defenses honed in too much on dig, this levels concept, he created dag, where instead of dig, he flipped it to a deep out. He recently talked about how often today's offenses have copied him with dag, because teams now use it, but as a man beater. In man, defenses try to use leverage where they line up to force the receiver towards their help. So if they have an inside zone rat defender, they play outside leverage to force the receiver to him. But if that guy is blitzing or doubling a receiver, something like that, we're playing inside leverage to force them out. Peyton almost used these like screens. He's getting the ball out so quick and accurate, where if his receiver in dig or dag or breaking a tackle, they're picking up big time yardage.
Right.
Remember, this is
Easy
all
money.
the way back in 2013, so defenses still aren't really used to these spread out passing attacks.
That's the thing. I think that's why defenses weren't as good. They were good. Don't get me wrong. Like, there were a lot of transcendent defenses, but I feel like the Legion of Boom was the branching of one era to another. I feel like the Legion of Boom mastered the art of shutting down the run and the pass attack all in one. Because a lot of teams used to just form, really like if I take the 70, I don't even know the Bears, but I mean, I'm messing up. I don't even know what year the Bears won, but I'm saying like if you take their defense, they're probably not that good against the pass. They're great against the run. You take a defense now, they're great against the pass. They're all right against the run. I feel like the Legion of Boom was the connector.
We don't have two good cornerbacks, let alone a third to bring in for nickel situations. So linebackers are bigger, we don't have a third corner. Teams just are not built to defend this style of offense like they are in the year 2026. When the Broncos got into the red zone or third down, defenses had studied the film and saw their tendencies, so they knew how efficient Peyton in this offense was over the middle. Just quick strikes over and over and over again. So they'd push coverage towards the middle, which gave Peyton one-on-one outsides and man coverage, and with these receivers, he feasted. My favorite game I dug up from 13 was the legendary Cowboys-Broncos 51-48 shootout. The Broncos barely edged them out with a win. A 50-burger and barely edging out the win is hilarious. And this offense was going full speed 100 miles an hour. Here on 3rd and 8, Peyton comes out and shows his receivers number 5. He knows on 3rd and long, the Cowboys want to play tight coverage to give DeMarcus Ware time to get home to the quarterback. 5 is code for cover 2 man. It's 5 in a lot of playbooks, because calling it 2 for cover 2 would confuse it with cover 2 zone, so many defenses, including Belichick and Saban, call it cover 5. How do you beat cover 5? Look how each of these receivers run outside breaking routes. That's because in cover 2 man, defenders are playing inside leverage to funnel receivers outside. 2 man doesn't have a rat zone defender, so Peyton alerts his receivers the coverage. Watch Julius Thomas adjust his route to break even harder into the linebacker, then burst out, and the Broncos continue their drive and eventually score.
You know what the craziest part about this is? They're trying everything they can to stop this. They're having multiple defenders over the middle. They're trying to switch up coverages and disguise coverages. They're blitzing all the time because Peyton Manning is immobile. So shout out to the O-line too. The O-line play used to be way better back in the day. Because quarterbacks back in the day could not move. Like Drew Brees, one of them ones because he could move. Back in the day when he couldn't move, oh my God, O-lines was the greatest. But yeah, I feel like this has made me gain a new respect for Peyton Manning. You know, I took Peyton Manning out of my top 10, top 5 for a long time, but I feel like Peyton Manning's top 5. I feel like, man, the top 5 discussions are getting hard to have.
A few plays later, Peyton shows off this quick slant to Julius Thomas. This might not look like too much, but as usual, there is a ton going on. We've been talking about the B-gaps a lot recently. Well, against 2 high coverages, the weak safety handles one of the B-gaps in the run game, and the Broncos were hammering it over and over. Peyton would come to the line, see how deep the safety was, knew his responsibility was the B-gap, and he kept making the Cowboys pay. Peyton knows they're under center, and so a run will hit the B-gap even faster, but finally, Dallas is setting a trap. They actually want Peyton to target this space because they are doubling Julius Thomas. They want the ball to go here. They had been showing Peyton this bubble pre-snap for a while now, where he's under center, but at the snap they rotate down, which is funny because when Peyton sees the rotation after he flips his head around, now we can see how dangerous the outside guys are. Eric Decker torches the one-on-one matchup, and it's a huge explosive play. So back to our primary example, it's Thomas ISO'd up here, Brandon Carr is outside leverage to force Thomas in, but Peyton is too quick with it. He's gonna force quick throws to his receivers to get their ball in their hands, and it's an easy touchdown. I also love studying his ability to adjust to defensive coverages during the game. The Cowboys majored in Tampa 2 zone, where they had 2 deep safeties, 4 underneath defenders. Then instead of a 5th defender, like in regular cover 2 zone, they used their middle linebacker Sean Lee to protect the open middle of the field. Throughout the game, Peyton just absolutely peppered these underneath routes.
That just shows you right there that these defenses just weren't operating. They weren't in a level high enough to really stick the pass. Because if that shit happened nowadays, that there'd be so many interceptions, so many picks, so many deflections, so many. Oh my Jesus! Well, back in the day, they didn't have like Sean Lee sticking over the middle, and you got Wes Walker small ass coming. That shit just not happening, bro. In what world? And I got respect for Sean Lee, but it's just like, in what world is that happening? So it's not really the players' fault. I feel like a lot of times we need to blame coaches more than we blame the players. A lot of times, it be their fault.